everyone, welcome back to the C programming tutorials. These tutorials are brought to you by Zeedup technologies. In this video, we are going to see the usage of a very important, actually the most important keyword in C, and this keyword is known as the Typedef keyword in C. So what is this Typedef keyword? First of all, let us just write it in the comment, Typedef in C. So this Typedef keyword, as you can see over here, is actually used to define an alias in C. So what is an alias? An alias is like an alternative name given to something. So you do not need to refer to that particular thing or that particular stuff by its original name, but you can refer to it by its alias name. So Typedef keyword is just used for that purpose, that is, it is used for aliases in C. So what is the usage of aliases? Suppose we just want to declare something. We want to declare a character variable. So character C equals, and we can just store like K into it. Okay. That's a simple thing. Okay. Suppose you want to store an integer variable or you want to declare an integer variable. You can just write like int P equals 90. That's simple. But what if you want to declare a pointer variable? Then what do you need to do is you need to write the data type, you need to put an asterisk sign, and then you need to write the name of the pointer. Okay, so this is the whole process that you need to do. But what if you are confused about the syntax of the pointer? You do not know that how can you actually write a pointer. So what you can do is, instead of writing this thing again and again and again, what you can do is you can just typedef the syntax of writing a pointer like this. By using the typedef keyword, the first parameter or the first thing that this typedef keyword expects is actually the thing that you want to alias. So here is this int asterisk that I want to alias. So I can just write int asterisk. I want to alias it as a pointer. So I can just write ptr. That's it. So this is how the aliasing works. Now what will happen is, instead of just writing this int asterisk every time, what I can do is just I can write this ptr, and C compiler will understand that yes, I am referring to a pointer only. Okay, so if you want to just test it, what you can do is you can just write this ptr and put a space and write p. So now pointer is P is a pointer type of variable, and you can just store the address of any of the variable that you want, like address of A. So first of all, let us just declare a variable called A with 10, and its address will be stored in P. If you want to check it, you can just use a printf statement, and you can just use mod x to print the address of variable A that is stored in P, and you can just compile it and run it. And you can see we have got a hexadecimal value, which means its address. So that is how you can just define an alias. Now this is a very small example. There are many situations where you need to write the same piece of code again and again, and for that purpose you can actually use this typedef keyword for an alias. For example, a structure. So let us just declare a structure for this. This is going to be a structure of a student. So struct student, and then actually it's student like this, and then we can just give it some of the values like an ID, a name using a character array of 20, and a float of percentage. Okay. Now, in order to declare a variable for this structure, what do you need to do is either you can just write the variable name over here, or what you can do is you can just come into the main function and you need to write whole of this thing, like you need to write it like struct student, and then you need to write s. Okay, now s becomes a structure variable for student structure, but you need to write these three keywords. Now if you're using typedef over here, then what happens is you can simply use type def over here, and then over here you can just specify the alias name like stu. So stu now becomes the alias name for struct student, and instead of using this struct student you can just write stus. Now this stu stands for struct student. Why? Because we have written here typedef and we have provided stu as the alias. So now if you want to just use it, you can just use it like this, s.id equals, you can just store some data, and strcpy s.name comma John, and then s.per equals say 90, right? And for using this string function strcpy, what do we need to do is we need to use this header file again, that is #include string.h, and here we can just printf, use the printf statement to print the values like id equals mod d, then in the next line we want like name, which would be in the form of a string, and then in the very next line we want something as a percentage, which will be in the form of a mod f. So what values do we need? s.id, s.name, and s.percentage. That's it. So let's just try and run it. So we have got id equals 10, name equals John, and percentage equals to 90%. And then this is the value of the address of our variable a that we declared previously. So that's how the typedef work. That's how you can actually define the aliases for the different things that you want in C, especially for a structure. Now there is one more way through which you can just write the typedef for especially for the structures, like, right? Okay, so how can you do that? That instead of writing this whole stuff like over here typedef and stu, if this is confusing you, then what you can do is you can just omit this whole stuff over here, and you can simply just provide this typedef statement here inside main, like typedef struct student. Actually it's going to be student, and then you can just provide it with stu. So this is also a valid statement. You can just test it by compiling it and running it, and you can see we're getting the same output with an exit code of 0. So we have already seen that just as the structure works, union also works. So if you want, you can also work with a union, and you can actually provide the name for or an alias for a union as well. So if we just declare student as a union right now, then what happens is you can just give it union student, but for this we need to just write the different printf statements or separate printf statements if we want to just get the correct output, because we know that union overrides the data. So it's going to be s.id, and after John the printf statement is going to print the name, which is going to be of string type, and it's going to be s.name, and then it's going to print the percentage, which is again going to be percentage, right, mod f, and it's going to be s.per. Now we can just omit this printf statement, or we can just comment it out, and now if we just try to run it, okay, so we have missed a semicolon over here. That's why we're getting this error, and in this statement as well. So we can just compile it and run it, and you can see we are getting the correct output, that is 10, John, and 90%, even if we are using the union for this aliasing purposes in C. So that's how the aliasing works. That's how you can use the typedef keyword to just compress the long statements into smaller ones. You can use it with anything that you want, but one thing that you must know is whatever aliasing you're going to provide. Like this is the name for which you are going to provide an alias. So this must be correctly mentioned. Otherwise, this aliasing would not work. So this is all in this video about aliasing, and thanks for watching.